Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. Out in Limsa Lominsa, the Warrior of Light bumps into a woman from Sharlayan who is clearly new to the area. She's on a mission of some kind, and once she finishes it, she wants to get some tea with Alisaie so she can brag about hanging out with her. Apparently, both of the twins are extremely popular in Sharlayan. The fact that you found out all of this before she notices that you're standing behind her means she probably won't succeed at her mission if it needs any type of observational skills. When she does see you, she introduces herself as Layla Jinjal, and when you tell her your name, she swears she's heard it from somewhere, but she can't remember where. She's on a mission from the Forum, but since it's her first time in Eorzea, she was planning on hiring an adventurer like you to be her escort. She's after some fugitives, so the mission will be a little dangerous, but that goes with the territory. Since you're up for the job, Layla wants you to meet her outside of the city so she can tell you about her mission away from all the nosy people. The fugitives that she's after fled Sharlayan and came to Eorzea, but they aren't your normal criminals. Apparently they've enhanced their bodies using some illegal practices, which also made them a little insane. While one of them was having a particularly bad mental episode, he killed someone, then died not long after from the side effects of his enhancements. But there are still 3 more that are on the loose. Their leader is a Viera male who stole some valuable technology too that she needs to get back. What he stole is not all that easy to explain to an outsider, so she brought a soul crystal to make it a little bit easier. For some reason, the crystal gets really hot in her hand for a moment, something that she never saw happen even when she was at the studium, which makes her think it was reacting to you. The secrets to the technology that was stolen came from a similar soul crystal that was owned by a member of the Healing Institute in Sharlayan. Since those particular crystals are meant to respond to someone who has a strong desire to help people, but who has also failed to do so, the people who loaned it to her said to give it to whoever she worked with in Eorzea if it resonated with them, because the knowledge the crystal contains will be really useful on her mission. It holds the knowledge of how to mix magic, etherology, and medicine, and the people who master it are called sages. When a sage fully understands their abilities, they can both heal people and kill them, something the Warrior of Light will be more than willing to learn. And since you're not a bad violent murderer, Layla is willing to give you the tools of your new job and to show you the basics of how to use them. Since she sucked at magic, she couldn't do the job herself, but she can show you what she learned at the studium. Once you've changed your clothes and Layla gives you a quick explanation about the sage's extremely unique floating weapons, the two of you head to Idleshower because that is where Layla's information says her targets are. When the two of you reach the small town, you split up to see if you can find your targets. While you're looking, you hear a man screaming for help, and you arrive in time to see your 3 targets attacking a man with every intention of killing him. Because thinking isn't high on the Warrior of Light's priority list, she steps in between the man and his attackers right when one of them hurls a fireball at him. Lucky for you, the Viera man named Loifa shields you with his magic. He's clearly a sage, one who knows what he's doing, but since there are witnesses now, he and his 2 friends teleport off instead of continuing their attack. Layla can't understand why the leader of the criminals protected you, but whatever the reason, she's glad both you and their target are alive. The man who you nearly ate a fireball for is named Faldranet, and he's also from Sharlayan. He was just going about his business when they came after him. He's a sage too, and he travels the land offering healing to people who can't afford it. He may not know why the 3 people attacked him, but with one of them using sage techniques, he has an idea about why they're in the area. They're likely on their way to St. Marcian's Arboretum. Some plants are forbidden in Sharlayan, but they still grow in the Arboretum, and they could be useful to a sage who wants to do some damage. Faldranet notices that you're a sage too, and hearing that you were chosen by the Soul Crystal and an outsider is shocking to him, since Sharlayan doesn't really deal too much with outsiders. It's the reason he left. He figured he could do more good for the world outside of the nation than in it. Then he heads off to continue his work while the 2 of you get ready to chase after Loifa and his friends because Layla refuses to let him run around doing bad things while wielding the sage's soul crystal. The place has been falling apart since the Sharlayans abandoned it, but it's huge, so finding Loifa may not be all that easy, if he and his friends are even there. The Arboretum is far from safe, but fighting your way past some of the overgrown plants and insects gives you a chance to practice your new techniques, and as luck would have it, you find traces of the fugitives that lead you right to them. Since you didn't take Loifa's warning to stop following them, the trio attack you. Together they make a very deadly team, but Layla's a pretty good fighter herself, and adding your sage techniques to the mix makes a combination that is annoying and time-consuming to deal with. With the three of their bodies being enhanced the way they are, Loifa's impressed that you held your own, but they don't really have time to waste playing with you, so they teleport away. They leave so fast that they drop a pack with the plant in it that they'd taken. Layla doesn't know much about plants, but she also found a diary that she thinks was written by a sage, so that might help figure out what the fugitives were planning. A lot of the words are hidden by an enchantment, one that Layla thinks she can break with a little bit of time, so you head back to Idleshire to get to work on that and to send the plant back to Charlian so they can tell her what it is and why a sage would want it, because she still can't understand why Loifa and the others left the city in the first place. The plant is called Musmalloy, and it has some ether strengthening properties, which is why it was outlawed in Charlian. Loifa probably used it to enhance his sage abilities, but that still doesn't explain why. Since they didn't get what they wanted from the Arboretum, they'll be looking for it from somewhere else, so Layla had her informant find an apothecary who sells it because she's pretty sure that person will be Loifa's next target. The seller lives out in Lost Hope in Thanalin, so your next stop is the Blackbrush Station. The woman you're looking for has a tattoo on her face that makes her pretty easy to spot, and the fact that she's panicking and calling for help makes picking her out of the crowd even easier. She was in the middle of dealing with a customer when some bandits attacked. She was able to get away, but the bandits are still beating on her customer as we speak. You race off to help, only to find out that it's Loifa, Mahad, and Ansel attacking Faldronet again. Once again, the two of you step in, but Layla wants to know why they keep attacking such a good man. The fact that she just assumes he's the good one and they're bad ticks Loifa off so much that he starts to regret saving you when you first met. Faldronet really doesn't make the situation better by talking down to the man when he should have just stayed quiet, so of course a fight gets ready to start. But before you all rain death and destruction down on one another, the apothecary recognizes Loifa's companions. The looks they give her proves that they know her too, but if they were getting ready to talk, the fact that Loifa does something to make one of the insects in the area transform into an elite hunt mark before sending it after Faldronet ruins the conversation. The man is still way too smug, which is pretty par for the course for most Charlians, but his attitude makes Ansel get so mad that his ether goes out of control. Loifa goes to help him while Faldronet runs to draw away the creature Loifa made. You go and deal with it, which is a little more difficult than you might have expected, while Layla watches Loifa and the others to make sure they don't get away. They're still there when you get back, but seeing how bad off Ansel and Mahad are, Layla can't bring herself to attack them, especially since she recognizes the symptoms as side effects of enhancing their bodies. The procedure causes the ether in the body to avoid the natural changes that happen throughout life, which can lead to some horrible complications. There was a rumor that a rogue healer was testing ways to fortify the body's ether on live subjects a few years ago. That man was using forbidden sage techniques that very few people even knew about, and while some of the test subjects survived, they had really bad side effects. Layla knew about the rumors, but the forum had said they weren't true. Loifa thinks the fact that she believes what they said makes her naive, but he's not going to argue the point. His friends have recovered enough, so they teleport away before Layla can decide to attack them again. She feels bad that she let that perfect opportunity to catch her target slip by, but she just couldn't bring herself to attack while they were in pain. That seems a bit stupid since she would likely be taking them to be executed if she gets them back to Charlian, but she probably doesn't feel bad about that since she won't be killing them directly. In any case, she needs a new lead now, and since the apothecary seems to know Mahad and Ansel, that's a good place to start. Turns out the pair of them are her adopted children. They had lost their real parents when they were young, so she took them in and raised them like they were her own blood. Their lives were comfortable until Mahad got sick with a disease called ether sperm, which stops the body from being able to draw ether from food. There's no cure for it. What's worse is while she was trying to take care of her, a beast attacked the settlement. Ansel tried to keep it away from his sister and was hurt so badly that the doctor said he would likely spend the rest of his life in bed. Their mother didn't have the money to take care of them, but fortunately a healer came by and offered to help the children free of charge. The problem was they were in such bad shape that he would need to take them to a special treatment facility to work on them, and it could take years before they would be well again. Their mother didn't know what else to do, so she sent her children with him. She had always hoped that she would see them again someday, and to finally know that they were alive is the best thing that could have happened to her. As for the healer, the man's name was Gildevane, and he was from Charlian too. After hearing that touching story, Faldronet heads off, and even though the danger's past for now, Layla still wants to tell the immortal flames to be on the lookout. Before she heads out, she wants to know how the apothecary met Faldronet. Apparently the man is a regular of hers who always heals a few people when he comes by. She met him through an acquaintance in Elport who gets his alchemy ingredients from as far away as Thavnir. This time, as usual, Faldronet was buying a plant that is said to be used to treat serious illness, a plant called musmalloy, the same plant that Loifa was stealing from the Arboretum. That gives Layla a lot to think about while you head back to Idleshire. By the time you make it there, Layla is questioning everything she thought she knew. The only reason Loifa and the others even wanted the forbidden plant was to draw out Faldronet. He's clearly their target, not to mention the fact that Layla's still thinking about the rumors that the Forum denied and whether or not they were truly false. It's making her rethink her whole mission. For starters, she doesn't fully believe that Loifa and the others are criminals at all anymore. To make things even more confusing, she contacts her people in Sharlayan, and because of what she's found out, they decide to reopen the investigation into the rogue sage. Turns out, there's more truth to the rumors than they thought, and the sage who fled Sharlayan not too long before Loifa and the others was named Gildevane, the same one who took Mahad and Ansel. That would explain their enhancements, their sickness, and their strong desire to kill the man who experimented on them. Which means you need to have a talk with Faldronet, and the best place to start looking for the man is in Elport where his merchant friend is. You barely have a chance to set foot in Elport before a yellow jacket comes running up to you screaming for a healer. Some people have been attacked right outside of the gates, so you rush off to help only to find a very dead merchant and Loifa, who's also in pretty bad shape. While Layla's not sure if Loifa and his group are as malicious as she thought they were, it doesn't change the fact that one of them did kill someone during their flight from Sharlayan, and the person they killed was Layla's mother. So it's really hard for her to not just let Loifa die. But he did save your life, so you kinda owe him. Plus he can't tell you anything if he's dead. And he didn't personally kill her mother, so Layla finally decides to let you fix him up. The first thing he does when he wakes up is ask about his friends, but they're nowhere to be seen, which means Gildevane took them. Loifa blames the two of you, because if you hadn't kept getting in the way, they would have already dealt with the man, because as any half-skilled detective would have already figured out, Faldronet is Gildevane. He changed his face when he left Sharlayan, but he's still running around experimenting on people while pretending to help them. The three of them had confronted the man at Elport, but he overpowered them, so Mahad and Ansel took a hit to protect Loifa, and despite all the power that he has, he couldn't help them. He had met Gildevane when he was young. He'd been born with a lung disease that got worse as time passed, and there wasn't much hope for him getting better until Gildevane showed up to him and his master claiming that knowledge from Sharlayan could fix him. His master was so happy about the news that Loifa agreed to undergo the treatment. Instead of healing him, Gildevane put him through some experiments to fortify his ether along with a group of others. Most of them died. The ones who lived were cured of their diseases, but they also got superhuman strength and they could channel magic easily. Even with those power boosts, Loifa wasn't a match for Gildevane. His friends are in trouble, and he's willing to do anything to save them, including asking you for help, something the two of you are more than willing to give. Since Gildevane took Mahad and Ansel, he plans on doing more experiments on them. Loifa wants to find them as soon as possible, but Layla points out that if the three of them got thoroughly wrecked, then it'll make more sense to make a plan since he's probably enhanced himself too. He doesn't want to, but he gets it, so the three of you head back to Idleshire where Layla gets news confirming that Gildevane had used musmalloy in his experiments. And there are no records of any healer named Faldronet, which proves without a shadow of a doubt that he's who you're looking for. Loifa admits that he could have tried to talk to you, but without all the current evidence, Layla wouldn't have trusted him. She was too mad about her mother. Loifa didn't even know the woman who had died that day had been her mother. During their escape, one of their allies had collapsed, and a sage had come to help them when their companion lashed out and attacked her before they could stop him. The last thing the woman had done was give Loifa a soul crystal. Surprisingly enough, the people in Sharlayan agreed to help hunt down Gildevane, so it won't be long before you know where he is. While you wait, it's a good idea to practice your techniques, and since Loifa's way more experienced at being a sage than you are, he could probably teach you a thing or two. So you and the bunny boy check in with Midnight Dew to see if any of her hunters need help. There are all types of dangerous monsters out there, so there are probably plenty of people who wouldn't mind you throwing a few healing spells at them. You take care of the ones who aren't all that bad off, but for the more serious wounds, Loifa handles them himself, although he's surprised when he's actually shown gratitude. Being able to protect people was a dream he had given up on because of his illness. The duty of all Viera men is to be a wood warder and protect the forests around their homes, but he had given up on ever being able to support his tribe. Then Gildevane had come and given him that hope again, until it died in the man's laboratory. all for what Gildervain claims to be the betterment of mankind. Because of that, the only thing Loifa had been using his sage powers for was revenge, but after meeting you and Layla, he feels like he can do more with it, and it actually feels good for him to be able to see a light at the end of the tunnel again. But he can't get through that tunnel until he saves his friends and deals with Gildervain, so you both head back to Idleshire to see if Layla's people have found the man. Her people have tracked some strange etheric activity to a cave in the Dravania Forelands near Somal. That's where Gildervain is keeping Loifa's friends. They're both still alive, but Layla's people couldn't find out what shape they were in. As for the man himself, someone who knew Gildervain when he was younger said that after he graduated from the studium, he studied a whole lot of different fields and was made a professor. That was where he'd met his wife, who was also a researcher and a sage. She ended up getting very sick, and no amount of healing could save her. She died after only a week. Gildervain changed after that. Tragic backstory or not, that doesn't excuse what he's done, so the time has come to deal with him. To try and keep you from dying, Layla put together some gear that should give you some resistance to Gildervain's magic. Plus, it looks really cool. When you get to the lair, Mahad and Ansel are still alive, but whatever Gildervain's done to them has given him control over them. They were good test subjects, but he really wanted Loifa since he got all of the strengths, but none of the negative side effects of the procedure. And once he makes his friends beat him to a pulp, he'll run some more tests on him. Plus, seeing how well they stack up in a fight against the three of you will let him know how well he did. The difference in strength that the two of them have compared to how strong they were the last time you fought is like night and day. The fact that you're trying not to kill them plays a small part in that, but the steroids Gildervain pumped into them really amped up their power. But the three of you knocked them out, giving Loifa a chance to heal them and break Gildervain's control. But it also leaves him open to an attack. Fortunately, you've learned the technique he used to protect you when y'all first met, and you returned the favor, giving him the time he needed to fix his friends. Once they're all better, you all turn your attention to Gildervain. The man thinks of this as an even better opportunity to test his experiments, and he injects himself with something, transforming into something that I will admit looks really cool. He looks like a very deadly Dark Souls boss. Well, most of those were deadly, but you get the point. He fights like one of them too, but he's no match for the five of you even with his power up. Showing much more restraint than I would have, Loifa decides to let Layla take Gildervain back to Sharlayan to face their justice instead of just executing the man right there. His friends are okay with his decision, and Layla not only lets him keep her mother's soul crystal, but she tells her superiors that the fugitives got away and there's no way she can find them again, giving Loifa and the others a chance to leave and for the first time in a long time live a life that they choose for themselves. This concludes the story of the Sage. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. And if you want to buy me a coffee for my work, sign up to become a member of the channel. Until next time, guys. Later.